Tonight, as hundreds of evacuees wait and worry about fires in their communities, we get the backstory of this incredibly powerful photo. Also, the Public Complaints Commission releases its report into the Baby Tanner case and finds 2 officers were neglect of duty. Plus, MLAs wrapped up the spring sitting at the Saskatchewan legislature, their last chance to debate things in the House until they return in October.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Thursday, May 18th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thanks for watching. Wildfires across the province's north are continuing to displace residents. The Meadow Lake Tribal Council alone is supporting about 1,100 people who've evacuated northern First Nations. Jason Warwick has more from North Battleford.
Roughly 150 evacuees from English River First Nation have been housed in North Battleford hotels since Monday when fire threatened their community just north of Isle Cross. For now, only the priority individuals were evacuated. That means elders, young children, and those with serious health conditions.
It's critical for these individuals to be away from the smoke due to the effects that it can have on these individuals, the children, or elders who have difficulty moving about quickly or because of their health concerns.
The Meadow Lake Tribal Council, City of North Battleford, and Red Cross have been offering support. Kids are being offered field trips to the golf course, bowling alley, and other venues.
Well, when we left, some were not sure what to expect.
I'm very grateful for what you've done for the youth here. I'm very grateful and thankful.
Those helping out say it's difficult for some parents to keep young kids entertained and occupied in a hotel, but things are going well for most people.
They've been in good spirits for the most part. I think the young moms are starting to get a little distressed. You know, they have the young kids to try to contain in a hotel.
The elders are doing great and they're well fed, taken care of.
Other evacuees are being housed in Lloydminster, Prince Albert, Regina, and elsewhere. Some communities, such as Buffalo Narrows, have ordered total evacuations and have closed the highways because of the fires.
You know, until we can see some more fire breaks, hopefully some rain in the forecast, it does look like it's going to be challenging for the next week.
A few people we spoke to said they had difficulties with things like hotel payments or finding basics like toiletries, but that's been mostly resolved now. They say that they're trying to make the best of a bad situation, and what they would really like most is rain and a chance to go home. Jason Warwick, CBC News, North Battleford.
Now, as the wildfires continue to rage, there are some good news stories also emerging from the devastation. Jesse Anton has more on the father-son firefighting duo that saved their cabin from the grips of Mother Nature.
Clarence McCollum snapped this photo of his father, Louis, as they worked to save their family cabin near Buffalo Narrows. It's been in the family nearly 3 decades. Clarence on the right and Louis in the middle have a combined 64 years of experience fighting fires in the north. So armed with nothing but shovels and gasoline, they quickly got to work.
All of a sudden, you could hear the fire in the background, really roaring, coming towards the cabin. I told my dad, I said, if we don't backburn, I said, it's going to burn down. I grabbed a 5-gallon tank of gas, I poured it around the cabin, and I lit it on fire.
We had to have an escape route, and the fire was very, very hot. It caught the trees and just blew them up like unreal.
Louis says trees exploded in the hot fire, and the cabin was wrapped in a ring of flames. That's when they took off down their escape routes.
We didn't have very much time to run to the lake. We barely made it to the dock. We had to run in the water and push the boat out and get out of there. Once we got out of there, we didn't even know where we were going anyway because there was too much smoke and red ashes just flying.
It wasn't until the next morning when Clarence saw an aerial view of their property that they knew their work had paid off.
Phoned my dad right away, told him that the cabin was still up, and my mom was happy because that cabin was there for the family for the last 27 years, and all our pictures were in their photo albums, memories that we had. And if that would have burned, would have been a sad moment, and I'm just glad that it's still standing today.
Louis says he likely won't live to see this, the green forest, from his cabin. But he's happy to know his children and grandchildren will have that chance. Jesse Anton, CBC News, Regina.
The Public Complaints Commission has found 2 Prince Albert officers failed to properly do their jobs while responding to a domestic violence call last year. 13-month-old Tanner Brass was later found dead in the home. The organization that investigates complaints against police officers laid out its findings in a report released today. The boy's mother called 911 in the hours before his death, saying she'd been assaulted by the toddler's father and was scared for her child. She later said she was arrested in handcuffs and detained in cells. The investigation found the woman chose to stay in cells to remain safe, and video evidence showed she was not handcuffed. But the independent body determined the 2 officers were in neglect of duty. The commission says responding officers did not follow the intimate partner violence protocol. They were incorrect in their belief they required a warrant or permission from the boy's father to enter the home and didn't check on the child's safety. They failed to conduct a proper investigation of a domestic violence situation, despite the presence of a vulnerable and unprotected infant. Now, the Crown did not recommend criminal charges against officers as a result of the investigation. The findings have been shared with the Chief of Police so he can impose appropriate discipline. 1 person is dead after a house fire in Saskatoon yesterday. It happened in the 1300 block of Idlewild Drive North shortly before 1 o'clock. Officials say someone called to report the fire but didn't provide any other details before hanging up. 4 people had evacuated once crews arrived. 1 of them had attempted to put out the fire while standing on the roof of a nearby shed. Firefighters found the door to the home locked, but once inside, they found a man dead on the floor. Fire crews don't know how old he is or why he wasn't able to get out. The fire was quickly put out and is now under investigation. The botched rebrand of Regina's tourism organization has raised a lot of questions about who knew what and when. Alexander Kwan has some new answers.
By now, we all know the story of Experience Regina, an attempt to rebrand the capital city's tourism organization that failed amid an international backlash over slogans that many said were sexist. Now, internal city emails are shedding new light on the public relations failure.
Regina, Experience Regina.
CBC News has obtained a copy of the internal, confidential documents used to pitch this revamp to the city and other organizations. It confirms that making Regina sexy was always part of the vision for the rebrand. It also reveals what the first campaign for the new organization would be: Do It in Regina. On Wednesday, Mayor Sandra Masters confirmed she was in the loop.
It's because in Regina, the word in is in Regina, and so there was some discussion around that, I think, even for the EDR branding. Yeah.
On that very slide, the pitch calls it a fun motto and says, "Don't worry, it's meant to be cheeky. This campaign is to own who we are, the city that rhymes with fun." That's one of the slogans that drew international backlash. It was also a phrase on hoodies created by 22 Fresh and distributed at the announcement of the Experience Regina rebrand. Internal emails show the mayor's office being asked by Tourism Regina if she'd like a hoodie for the upcoming event. A member of the mayor's staff responds, "Mayor would definitely like one for the stage, if possible." On Wednesday, the mayor had a simple answer.
I don't have a hoodie. What's that? Oh, a different hoodie. Yeah, different hoodie.
Late Thursday afternoon, a city staffer suggested the mayor had reviewed a different slide deck and requested a different hoodie, but did not provide evidence to support that claim. Questions still remain about the rebrand. A third-party review of the disastrous campaign is ongoing. There is no word when it will be completed and when or if it will be made public. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, Regina.
The Saskatchewan legislative spring sitting wrapped up today. The 2 parties have stuck to their messages, with the Saskatchewan Party government touting a growing province and the Opposition NDP arguing that many aren't benefiting. Adam Hunter has more.
The Saskatchewan government kicked off this spring sitting trumpeting a $1 billion surplus budget. That was accompanied by a billboard campaign proclaiming growth that works for everyone. The slogan has been mocked online by critics.
It's truly growth that works for everyone, Mr. Speaker.
But said proudly a few hundred times in and outside of the Assembly by government members. Premier Scott Moe stuck to that message when evaluating the last 3 months.
A strong session with a strong budget, a surplus budget that has allowed us to pay off our pandemic debt and has allowed us to make the necessary investments in safer communities and stronger communities, and ultimately preserve the opportunity for the growth that ultimately works for everyone in communities right across Saskatchewan.
The opposition's phrase of choice was calling the government old and tired. Opposition leader Carla Beck says school divisions are making cuts and people are unable to get an ambulance or find a family doctor, while costs are rising. She says that is evidence the government is not doing enough.
It's incredibly frustrating when you add on top of it the fact that you have a government that is sitting on windfall revenue and looks poised to, keep that in the bank and start doling out election promises when it gets closer to the next election. I think the people of this province are smarter than that. I think that the urgency is greater than that.
Voters in 3 Saskatchewan constituencies will have the chance to decide which message they like best. Premier Scott Moe says that by-elections in Regina Wall Shakers, Regina Coronation Park, and Lumsden Morris will be held at the same time, but he did not say when that would be. He hinted that an announcement will be happening in the near future. Adam Hunter, CBC News, Regina.
WestJet has started cancelling flights before a possible pilot strike tomorrow. Canada's second largest airline says talks with the union representing 1,800 pilots are at a critical impasse. Meanwhile, thousands of Canadians who were not expecting the cuts today are scrambling. Sam Sampson has an update.
Connor Guillet is a details guy. For his trip to Kyrgyzstan, he prepped his wardrobe and gifts for local children. Then this morning, his WestJet flight to Toronto was cancelled.
Really did think I had all my bases covered. It's pretty disappointing. I think I'm disappointed that it's such a large, wealthy organization, and it's the small customers who they rely on that are really feeling the brunt of this disruption.
WestJet cancelled flights across Canada, even though contract talks with the pilots are still happening. A strike hasn't started. The company says it's preparing for upcoming job action. Customers can either get a refund or a new flight. But just ahead of the May-long weekend, it thrust tens of thousands into travel limbo. Muzamil Murad's family was supposed to meet him in Florida for a cruise. Their flight also cancelled this morning. He forked out almost $2,000 for tickets with a different airline so his wife and kids could join him.
He's all excited for the trip, and then having to explain to him last night that Daddy can't talk to you because Daddy's on the phone talking to different airlines and credit card companies trying to figure out what's going on.
The pilots' union wants higher wages, closer to what some U.S. airlines offer. WestJet says meeting their demands would hurt the company's ability to offer lower fares. With no sign of things getting settled, some believe these cancelled flights ahead of the strike deadline was a negotiation tactic.
What the airline has done here is played a very firm hand in this, and this could disrupt their travel plans. But going forward, this action and the decision by the airline could entail consumers not booking with this airline in future, thinking, okay, if this can happen now, it can happen in future, therefore we'll look to another carrier.
The pilots' union tells CBC News talks continue ahead of the 5 a.m. Eastern strike deadline. Sam Sampson, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, e-scooters have popped up all around the city of Saskatoon today. It's a pilot program that will last 2 years. You can rent the electric scooter to drive around select parts of the city, and only shared scooters have the go-ahead in Saskatoon, at least for now. Private e-scooters are not allowed on city streets, sidewalks, or pathways. You have to be at least 16, you have to wear a helmet, and you can only drive up to 24 kilometers an hour. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. And we are just learning now that Prince Albert's police chief has announced his retirement. Jonathan Bergen announced he is retiring to, quote, protect the discipline process related to the Complaint Commission's findings, as the Commission has put the process back with the Prince Albert Police Chief to decide whether the officers who responded to Tanner Brass's mom's call for help will be disciplined based on the report's conclusions. The chief said in a written statement just in the last 15 minutes that his decisions have become the subject of escalating criticism and personal attacks from past and current members of the police service. He says his decision to ask for an independent investigation into the infant's death was criticized, with members saying the police service should investigate itself. His decision to remove the 2 officers from duty pending the report was also criticized. The chief says if he stays on and takes on the responsibility of disciplining the 2 officers, people could accuse him of being biased. His retirement is effective May 31st. What's the saying? Clear skies, full hearts, can't lose. The Saskatchewan Roughriders were back outside today after some smoky skies pushed training camp indoors, and they're starting to play with more heart. A lot of love from these Saskatoon Rider fans today. One player you can expect to get cheers all season, running back Frankie Hickson. The 26-year-old from Virginia is already performing well. Just ask his new quarterback.
That guy's different, man. He, in terms of being able to cut and run and jump, he's just one of those guys. His personality kind of just is so inviting in terms of, being a great, locker room guy. But when you watch him play on a football field, I watched him make a cut the other day, and I was like, I think I would have tore 2 ACLs in the same knee.
I think we're a lot more, thankful just to be here. I think we understand what it takes a little bit more. I think we understand after last year that there's a bitter taste in not only our mouths, but the entire province of Saskatchewan that we want to change, and we want to change the narrative around here.
This weather update is brought to you by Capital GMC Buick Cadillac. Super Sierra and SUV sale is on now.
Our weather specialist Ethan Williams joins me now. It really cooled off today.
Yeah, you could certainly feel that in the province for sure. The other thing you notice there, the riders are back outside. The smoke is clearing, and as we take a look now at our smoke forecast in the province, we can see that those plumes now moving out southerly direction of winds tomorrow, going to continue to help that. But unfortunately, that pushes it right back into the Churchill region where the majority of those fires are. We will watch heading into the long weekend, though. Winds begin to shift from the northwest, and that could move some plumes of smoke back down into southern portions of the province, and you can see very heavy smoke still through Alberta, so still lots of potential for that to move our way even into next week. And because that western section of the province is the hardest hit by the smoke, air quality advisories are still remaining in effect in that part of the province, extending eastward a bit through portions of the Churchill region and the northern Grain Belt to encompass Prince Albert and Lloydminster up through Meadow Lake, La Ronge, Buffalo Narrows. But air quality in the south improving. The forecast on the air quality health index on the right here, this is tomorrow's rating, and on the left is the current rating right now. And Regina, Estevan, Saskatoon, market improvement today, even in Prince Albert. But as you can see tomorrow, with that smoke wafting northward again, Prince Albert, we could be still in that high risk, and especially in western sections, a 10 plus out of 10 on the scale. So you're going to still want to avoid outdoor activities. And the fire risk still very high. No surprise here. This has been the case for the last few days, last few weeks, really. Still in that high to extreme risk through the province. Much cooler today, as we mentioned, only into the teens in southern Saskatchewan. Struggled to get into the double digits in Manitoba today. And even right now in Yorkton, sitting just at the 10-degree mark. But I think things are going to start warming up pretty quickly. We're not at risk for frost tonight, by the way, even though we are getting close to the freezing mark. We still have some cloud cover that's going to be keeping us warmer. Not that anyone really has anything planted at this point yet. A lot of people don't start that till after the long weekend. But high pressure begins moving out, and we are going to be seeing a bit of low pressure slide through as we head through tomorrow night into Saturday. Could bring some light showers to southern Saskatchewan, but watch out. Another area of high pressure going to start moving in for the weekend, really clearing things out. And because that high pressure is moving in, winds shouldn't be too gusty. Tomorrow we may see them pick up in the 30 to 40 range, especially in central Saskatchewan, but after that we're pretty much in the clear. But our temperatures start picking up over the long weekend. This big ridge starting to build in once again, as expected, moves our way, and it kind of lessens a little bit as we get into Saturday and Sunday, but still some very warm temperatures expected, as you'll see here in our 7-day forecast in Regina, quickly getting close to 30 degrees by Monday, and that could be, we could see a little moisture on that day as well, and the heat and the moisture could trigger off some thunderstorms, and then some cooler weather, some showers, and that's the same for Saskatoon as well. That high pressure moving in a little sooner for you, so it's going to get warmer quicker. Showers and thunderstorms, we will really hope for that moisture, Sam, as it is definitely needed.
Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
We're back after the break. The Alberta government's response to the wildfire emergency will loom large in tonight's leaders' debate in the provincial election. And so will the future of healthcare in that province. Christine Birak has the details.
The report is titled Failing to Deliver. It looks at a plan Alberta announced in 2020 to speed up surgeries. The province is spending $400 million taxpayer dollars to send patients into charter or private for-profit clinics to increase the number of surgeries and hopefully reduce wait times. But researchers say, here's what's actually happening.
Instead of increasing capacity overall and increasing the number of surgeries that the province performed, what we saw is the exact opposite.
Through Freedom of Information requests, researchers found there was a 6% decline in total surgeries done over 3 years. As taxpayer-funded surgeries in private for-profit clinics increased almost 50%, hospital surgical activity fell 12%. Researchers say both systems are now competing for the same healthcare workers. As more professionals leave the public system for higher pay, waits in the public system will get longer.
There is no question that it's coming at the expense of staffing in our public hospitals in Alberta and really constraining the ability of public hospitals in Alberta to ramp up surgeries.
Aside from cataract surgeries, Alberta has among the longest waits in Canada now for priority procedures. Before the Alberta Surgical Initiative, 64% of Albertans needing hip replacement surgery had it within 6 months. In 2022, that number had fallen to 38%, even below the Canadian average.
If it was an easy fix, a big fix for the struggles that healthcare systems are having around the world, we would know. They've been researching this for a long time, so the findings are for me, are not surprising at all.
Tim Caulfield teaches health law at the University of Alberta. He says market forces do not work well in healthcare, even when politicians double down on them.
The data is pretty consistent, right? When you have public and for-profit, it's usually more expensive. There's no evidence it's more efficient.
Caulfield says Canadians deserve timely care, and provincial leaders should be looking towards new evidence-based ideas to deliver it. Christine Birak, CBC News, Toronto.
And Ethan's back with one last look at your weather.
Lots of sunshine coming tomorrow. I think clearing overnight in Saskatchewan will be at 9 degrees by 8 a.m. Winds again from the south, pushing the smoke out of Regina and the south, and they'll be on the fairly light side tomorrow. They'll start to pick up a little bit in the 30 to 40 range tomorrow afternoon. Still from the south, around 18 degrees at the noon hour. That's more than the high we got to today in Regina. Saskatoon starting at double digits by 8 a.m. Again, a little bit gustier for you, and I think you'll get to around the 40-kilometer-an-hour mark or so. Lots of sunshine for you as well. Susan McDonald says no, it is not Star Wars, it is Grackle Wars happening at her home in Regina. Look at that one. That just looks menacing. I'm going to step back from that one, Sam. Not good for people who are scared of birds.
Looks could kill.
Yeah, right? Menacing.
So good. So good. Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
That's it for us tonight. For news anytime, head to cbc.ca/sask or subscribe to our YouTube channel. Ethan will be back with more local news at 11. Up next, it is NHL playoff hockey. Thanks so much for watching and have a great night. Enjoy the game.